Hi, I'm very happy to be here today with Naomi Aldort, the writer of Raising Our Children, Raising Ourselves. This is how my book looks after 5 years of hard use. I call it my parenting Bible. So I'm very excited to meet you today, Naomi, and you are totally my idol. And we have invited you to the Conscious Parenting Festival, and we feel blessed to have you speaking for us parents.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. And some of the questions we created to give an idea to the families and the people who is coming to the festival and meeting you is for example, what is the most important focus a parent need to have when raising their children?
That's a very good general question. It's hard to put it into one focus, but if I had to put it into one focus, I would say what you want is to have children who are rooted in themselves. Mm. And that ties with the name of the book, Raising Our Children, Raising Ourselves, because for your child to be rooted in herself or himself, you have to be rooted in yourself so that you are not running around trying to make your child behave a certain way to impress someone. And then they learn, oh, I have to behave so mom looks good. They may not know it consciously in that way, but it does become a commitment or a way of being to please other people, to not have boundaries, to not really listen to oneself. So when I listen to oneself, to myself, I generally do the right things in life. But when I try to do something that isn't authentic to me, that isn't what's right for me, but I'm trying to please someone else or to accommodate or because I'm afraid what they would say, then I'm in trouble. Mm. And for kids, it's even the dangers of molestation, the dangers of, as teenagers, being under the peer pressure. All of those things, children who are rooted in themselves don't fall for peer pressure. Mm. A child who is rooted in themselves, a teenager who is rooted in themselves, are not going to have some person tell them what to do with their body or what's pleasing to them and what's not pleasing to them. Because they know it's about me. I know inside what's right. And it really, and those things start with simple things like sleeping with your baby and young child. Because some people tell me, but wouldn't he not be independent? And I say it's the other way around. Because when your child wants to sleep with you and the baby gives you cues that they want to be next to you all the time, and you say to the child, to the 4 years old or 5 years old, no, you should sleep in your own room or in your own bed, and they want to sleep with you. What are you teaching them? Don't listen to yourself. You feel like sleeping with your parents' bed. Don't listen to that voice of yours. Instead, listen to me. Listen to another person that tells you what to do with your body, with your thinking, with your emotions, with what you feel inside. So it makes you dependent, not independent. So sleeping alone is not being independent. It's just being alone in a bed. Independence means where I sleep or where I be or what I learn is something that I discover from inside of me, not because someone else is manipulating me and deciding for me and telling me how I should feel. So I would say that to start, because there are lots of things that are core issues, the other main core issue is really constantly be consistent with love, not with rules, but with love. Then you can talk about integrity, about stay connected, always look at reality. So there isn't one thing, but your question definitely was very good in bringing it to focus. Like when we do all these things, loving, kindness, connection, integrity, honesty, the result is this authenticity and this being rooted in oneself is a context where all these things, all the other things, and the love and connection can more easily happen. Because we lose love when we think that we have to impress someone else and not really be real with what we see as the best thing to do.
Yeah, and so when you were sharing now, I also came in contact with another question, which is about this in this society today. How is it the issues for parents? You know, the biggest issue for parents sometimes it can be that to find out how to keep that
Exactly.
sense of self alive in our children.
Yes. And it is especially difficult now because the whole world is in your child's bedroom or in your home on little gadgets. The whole world, you know, in the past, you were dealing with, is the influence of daddy all right by what I think? We need to talk. Are grandparents giving them healthy food, or are they giving them, you know, junk that we don't think they should eat? So they're all very limited things that we were worried that could influence the child and take them away from who they really are. Now we go through, some people are doing like homeschooling or unschooling, and they say, oh, I don't want to tell my child what to do or what to say. The problem is the industry will tell your child what to do. The industry will tell them what to say. So you have to stay connected to them. And I'm not against giving that kind of freedom, but you have to realize the obstacles, the difficulties of modern age, where you have to really be connected about everything when they're young, especially, so that they have the tools, the frame of reference from which they can decide, is this Facebook note really safe? Is it for me? Should I really watch this pornography website? Or when they're younger kids, you know, should I really eat this? Should I actually let this person kiss me? Should I be with this child who is constantly making me feel not quiet or right? But with the gadgets inside, with the advertisements inside your home, and again, you know, some parents try to not have gadgets at home for that reason, because it is very difficult. With all of that, definitely it's a modern challenge. How do we raise a child where the whole society, the whole world, the news, the advertisement is literally in the home, or potentially can be in the home, and keep the child connected to himself, healthfully attached and bonded with the family, absorbs the kind of values that will give them the frame of reference to do what is truly authentic for them and healthy and leads them to happiness. So it is a big challenge. It's an amazing balancing act.
Yeah. And during your workshops at the festival, will you cover all ages then, from babies to teenagers, or rebellion and sexuality?
Yes, in fact, that's also what my book says. It's for all ages. And because principles of love and connection don't change with age. The content changes. The connection with baby means holding them all the time. Actual connection with a teenager is more a matter of asking questions, having a conversation, and asking the right questions. At a certain age, children don't understand why would we ask them generic questions like, you know, how was your day? For a 9 years old may be much too difficult. What do you mean? It was great. I mean, like, hey, I'm alive. They're more enlightened than we are. So how was your day? Is like the sun was rising and the earth is green and and I mean now in the spring and breathing, and I was breathing, and you know, and it was like, wow, everything. What do you want me to tell you? So again, in different ages, connection mean different things. And at that kind of age, it's the difference between how was your day to what did you like the most about playing with Joey today? Or, I see that you have some dirt on your pants. That's wonderful. Did you climb on something? Yes, I climb on a tree. Tell me more about the tree. How high did you go? So it's more like you need more details. You can't ask a child questions like you're asking me, which are worldview, which we adults love to talk about. So we'd love to hear, how was your day? Because an adult will give us 3 stories of that day. But a child needs to be, ask a specific question, or they have no idea. They're in this minute looking at you. And what do you mean my day? This is my day. I'm with you right now. It's wonderful. So there's nothing to say unless you ask them specifically, what did you play with your friend Melissa today? Did she like it? Did you like it? What else did you play with her?
Yeah.
What did you like the most about that game? And also when they tell us, and my book talks about the importance of self-expression, of making it safe and asking the kind of question where the child would feel free to express themselves, to give emotions and to say what's going on for them, and to ask more questions based on it, and to keep it really open and really safe. And again, for each age, for the baby crying, it's about just validating, finding the reason, showing the baby that you are looking for and that you understand. Or when you realize that he needs to cry and there's nothing you can do, and no matter what you do, he keeps crying, and validating, mommy doesn't know what you need, and maybe you just need to express yourself, and I'm here, and giving the hug, and I'll hold you, and you can cry as long as you need, rather than giving them the feeling, I'm gonna try to stop your crying, because it's self-expression and you need that. So you see, for different ages, it's very different things.
It's very inspiring to hear you. Another thing is siblings. Especially have 2.
You have 2?
Yeah, I have 2, 2.5.
How old are yours?
5, 2.5 and 5.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and there is, conflict sometimes, and
yes. Well, adults have conflicts. Children don't choose who is their sibling. We at least we can say we chose our partner, and we still have conflicts. We choose our job, hopefully to some degree, and we still have conflicts. We choose our friends, and sometimes we have conflicts, and politicians have conflicts, and countries have conflicts. So, children don't have as many tools, and they don't have linguistic tools to solve conflicts only verbally, and adults have that, but they still sometimes use weapons instead of words. So it's hard. We don't have a good model for our children, but when they're young and they don't read the news yet, it's important to model. And with siblings, to not expect that they would be able to be with each other like ages 2.5 and 5. We can be fooled by the fact that once in a while, or almost every day, for a little while, they play together really nicely, right?
Yeah.
And then you think, gee, well, they can play together. I can get something done. But no, a 5-year-old cannot be a parent to a 2.5 years old. And a 2.5 years old need a mature caregiver still. Even the 5-year-old still needs it. So the number one is to be realistic with the expectations and to not leave them alone for too long. And if you left them too long and they start fighting, to realize you burnt the rice. I use that analogy. You burn the rice, you don't blame the pot, the fire, the rice, the water. You burnt the rice. Easy. Well, if you left your children too long and they're starting fighting, or even not too long, they're starting fighting, you burnt the rice. You didn't realize this isn't the good time, or they can't do it right now, or they're at their limit. And it's really important to acknowledge that. So you go into the room and say, can I help? And no, he's taking my blocks. And you usually remove the 2.5 years old in this case, in your children and say and do something with that one so the older one has the space for themselves, because usually it's the little one who has created the problem. Sometimes they do it on purpose over the years, because if we leave them alone and the little one disturbs and the big one, you don't come to help when there is no help. So the big one eventually pushes them or grabs it out of their hand or hit them. Then when you come in, the little one is crying, and you immediately become angry at the older child. So eventually the little child learns a great power game. Power games are one of my techniques for emotional healing, but not this. They learn a power game. If I annoy my bigger brother, and then he gets upset with me, mommy doesn't come, he hits me, I cry, I get him in trouble. Mommy comes, she's angry with my brother. So I feel powerful. I succeeded to bring mommy or daddy the ammunition, right? The artillery has arrived to help me. And now look at my brother. You know, he's
I grew up, I'm an older sister, so I kind of totally understand my older daughter, and yeah, I'm very aware of this. I lived it.
But you know how that works. And I will talk in the workshop a lot more about siblings, because it's a huge, huge issue. And it changes with the ages and with the number of kids in group, and not just siblings, with friends, with group play, which mostly I don't even recommend until a certain age when the kids can actually hold their own group and a minimal number. But I teach not to take sides, for example, and that takes quite a skill. That's a whole lecture and some exercises to get there. How to have both children feel so that no one got in trouble, but both have actually been taken care of and been listened to. And also to be apologetic when you burned the rice. I'm sorry I wasn't there fast enough. And to be there fast enough next time. Not say, just a minute, I'm still cooking. Turn off that fire. You're already late if they're fighting. And it's not that they can never fight and resolve their own issues. They can. Sometimes you kind of look in and think, they're going to solve this one, and that's a good learning process for them. And sometimes you're not even there. You can be in the bathroom and they solve something and you don't even know it happened. So sometimes when we're not there, you know, nice neglect, healthy neglect. So you see, I'm saying some contradictory things, but once we work more thoroughly in a workshop so that we can sense which is when, and we can never be perfect, of course. But we get a lot of tools to deal. And then when we do it wrong, because we're not perfect and we don't need to feel guilty about being humans, we were born into these bodies and minds, then to make correction, to do what I call in the book, rewind. You know, rewind the tape, go back. You can still, you know, make it better for both children. And always for both children, and always through connection. No punishment, no scolding. There's no need for that. When there is trust and there is actual understanding that whatever a child is doing, they have some valid reason for it. And that ultimately we have the power to set things up so those reasons won't be there. I mean, it's a process. There's always, and then there are new reasons and we have to handle them. That's life. We always have to take another breath, and we have to sleep again, and we have to eat again. One meal doesn't do it. It's the same with the siblings. But it does get a lot more peaceful, and I would say almost permanently, when the relationship is based on this kind of connection, understanding, and not taking sides. And taking responsibility for the setup.
Thank you, Naomi. I think we have maybe one last question before we finish. We are almost like, I think we have about 2 minutes or something. That is, when you say in your book, like raising our children, raising ourselves, when you say that What do you mean with erasing ourselves? If you can just shortly say.
Well, let me say it in a short way that I can talk about the whole workshop. It is a lot about that. But I think a lot of parents do understand that, because when they read a book or when they come to a workshop, and most workshops don't do the kind of work I do to actually raise ourselves. So when you go to a workshop and the lecturer just write a list of tricks of what you can do to do the good communication with your child, or what to do so that things, some tricks to get them to behave better or to obey or whatever. And then you say, and I don't even teach to obey, but regardless. And then the parents come and say, I know to do it. I've memorized it. Every now and then I succeed. But every now and then, or many times, there is something else in who I am that does not allow me to do it. So in other words, you have to bring yourself to the place of being able to do it. Mm. And that's where the working on yourself is a must, because to know what to do it, and then in the moment, you're just the anguish that comes out of you because of how your parents treated you, or whatever is happening in you from whatever relationships over life happened to you. And if you don't handle that, if you don't get in touch with what am I saying right now? So I like to help parents see, like recently, I had a client who told me this story about her third child, 3 girls, didn't go to bed, and was playing still in the playroom, was doing some art. And the other 2 were already in bed. She wanted to start reading books to them and doing the going to sleep. And she keeps telling the middle one, go to the bathroom, get ready, and come to bed. And she's in the middle of something. She's just a minute. She's not doing it. Eventually, the mother takes the child and brings her to the bathroom kind of forcefully. And she goes and tells her, get ready, you have school tomorrow, and you need to go to bed, and we're already in bed. She goes back to bed and reads a story to the 2 others. And after a while, she's hearing some singing. And she gets up and looks into the bathroom and finds that child didn't get ready for bed at all. She's still dressed and nothing happened. She's laying on the floor, singing on the bathroom floor. And she got very angry because she didn't raise herself. And what I taught her to do helped her in the next time anything like that happened. Like, stop yourself and recognize what happened to you in that moment. The voiceover said she should do as I tell her. What happened to you as a child when you didn't do what your parents told you to do? That stuff is like rising in you. And the anxiety to control this, to make sure this child doesn't do this, or she'll get in the kind of trouble you got, or some other variation, whatever happens. And it's not always that you have to get in touch with your childhood. But the point is to question yourself. What am I saying to myself? I'm saying to myself, she shouldn't be singing on the floor. And after she did this whole process with me, similar to inquiry like Byron Katie does, something similar, she realized not only it was fantastic that she was singing on the floor, it was a good thing. She was calming herself down. The mother didn't have to sing as many lullabies later because she was already calm. She was reorienting herself. She was taking time so she can say, I decided to get ready, rather than feeling this horrible feeling my mother forced me to. So she took her time so she can own it. She can say, I decided. So, and she's releasing the tension of that little struggle. Her mother didn't do it quite nicely. Another place where she could have worked on herself. If she worked on herself, she wouldn't have said she should go to the bathroom now. She would have gotten into that room and said, I see you're very busy painting. And your sister and I are already in bed reading. How much more time do you need before you're coming to bed? And the child then can own it right there and wouldn't have had this emotional need to own herself, because she would own herself. She would say, well, I think 5 more minutes. She would actually shorten it. I've never seen children not do that. They say 5 more minutes or 10 more times on the slide. And then because they were respected and they feel ownership, they say, actually, I'm done a lot sooner. And they feel mature. They go to the bathroom. I'm done, and I'm deciding now, and I'm going and getting ready. And my mother respected me, so I respect myself and feel honored. So again, this is a huge subject that I cover a lot in the workshop. And all these subjects, all these excellent questions. But we will, see each other and work on all these things thoroughly through exercises, some small group work and personal work with me in front of the group, and just me speaking and answering questions and dealing with personal specific, what parents will be doing, and even acting on stage sometimes in the advanced course, is taking scenes from the home and actually recreating them so we can see exactly the dynamics and what exactly happens. So we can pin it down and see where we lost it, where we didn't raise ourselves, where we have a place to go that will bring the peace back, the joy back, the connection, the love, the excitement of being with our fantastic children and parents.
Well, I feel it's so fantastic to speak with you. It's like bringing the light into things that I know. It's like opening, for me, it feels like you're opening the wisdom within me and be in contact with it. It's very precious. And thank you for your work.
Thank you,
Thank
Vera.
you for coming to Conscious Parenting in September. Thanks, Laka.
I'm looking forward to that and to meeting a whole lot of your community and maybe from other communities, from other countries, because we're doing it in English, I understand, which means people who speak English from anywhere in Europe or anywhere. Last time I had people from Australia come to Europe when I came there. So from anywhere that speak English can participate in this wonderful festival. So thank you for creating this opportunity.
Thank you. And Naomi will be having also a course after the festival, and we may have another interview later to give a bit of information about it. Thank you, Naomi, for today.